Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Here.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Here.
Representative Hart,
Here.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Present.
Chairman Cook.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of the August 9th meeting of the committee. There's a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Representative Bowling. Is there a second? Second by Chairman Meredith. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart, Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith, Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. Total number of items on the agenda today, we have 575 in the amount of $371,219,091.73. All vendors are registered with the Secretary of State's office. Next is the deferred list, which is from the August PSC amendment list. If the representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, good morning. I am Mary Elizabeth Bailey, Commissioner of the
hear you.
Department. Can you hear me?
I think you're muted on your side.
Mm-mm. Not.
Try it now.
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
Hmm. Try this again. Okay, now can you hear me?
Still nothing.
We can hear her.
Can you hear me now? All right. Any luck?
It might be something in the committee room.
Yeah. We seem to be okay on our side. Anything you can change on your side?
We can hear her on Zoom if that helps.
Well, doesn't help us.
That's what he just said. They can hear on Zoom, but we can't. Maybe get Noah.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. While we're getting some IT people to address that, we're gonna go on to the next step here, which is consideration of the agenda, including the corrections list, not the deferred list. It'll be the corrections list, the personal service contract list, PSC amendment list, memoranda of agreement list, memoranda of agreement amendment list, and the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program agreement list, except for those items selected for further review. Do we have a motion to consider the contract reviews without an objection? A motion by Co-Chairman Meredith, second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Local government, are you here? Because they requested to go next because they have a workshop this morning. So next items on the polled list are Department of Local Government, and they are number 33, 34, 40, 46, and 62 on the routine MOA pink list. If the representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Jennifer Peters with the Department for Local Government.
Welcome, Jennifer. You by yourself today?
No,
No,
Gabe,
no.
Gabe Nickel, Department of Local Government.
Aaron Jones, Department for Local Government.
All right, Jennifer, Gabe, and Aaron, welcome. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Senator Southworth has questions. Senator Southworth, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, we got a number of projects, so I'm going to go one at a time and see how this goes. The number 33 park land acquisition and county park development, and we're using local government economic development fund monies for it. What I'm wanting to look at is in this fund, is any of this cushion for maintenance and repairs for the future? I mean, I'm thinking if we're acquiring land and building something new, then I'm looking at what are going to be the tail costs after that. Is there a funding source built into this, or is that going to come from, we hope, later? Kind of what's the structure of this money?
So that was not included in the scope of work that was submitted with the application. That would have to be something that I would have to follow up with the fiscal court on what their plans are to do later, if there's another phase to this. But as far as being included in the scope of work for this contract, that was not an item.
Okay. On number 34, it says roof renovation, and we're doing county courthouse roof renovations, also paid from the same economic development funds. Is there a criteria around what constitutes economic development and maintenance on county buildings is included in economic development?
So per the budget bill, notwithstanding KRS 42450 to 42495, all funds appropriated to local government economic development fund single county accounts shall be allocated to projects with the concurrence of the respective county judge executives, state senators, and state representatives of each county. So basically, this is a project that received legislative concurrence from two of your colleagues in the General Assembly, which allows them to use these funds for this scope of work.
Okay, so as long as those three people agree, then it can be anything, basically.
Yes, and that was Representative Jim Gooch and Senator Robbie Mills.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to move on to number 40. Number 40 is pathways, where we're doing a recovery house, looks like. And I'm familiar, we see these all the time, but we never see them in Department for Local Government. So I'm wondering, with all of the substance recovery funds out there, are we using funds for this that could be used for other things, where this really should be funded through a substance recovery only fund? Or is this a substance only recovery fund, it just happens to go through DLG and we don't know about it?
No, ma'am. This was a new HUD program, and they made an announcement in November of 2020. The HUD has put out $25 million for transitional or recovery housing only. Kentucky, the first 2 years, we got $2 million, and this is a special HUD program that must go to the nonprofits such as Pathways. So it is a new program and not one you would have seen on a typical DLG contract for federal funding with HUD before.
So to follow up on that, the HUD contract, DLG has the contract as an administrator. Are you the administrator for this program, or are you an administrator and KLC another, or what am I saying? What's KHA, right? Housing. I'm getting my acronyms all jacked up, but anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Housing Corporation, KHC. There we go.
Yeah.
Do they also do this, or is this something different from the funds they administer?
This is different from KHC funding. This is a state. Well, it's like the regular CDBG that HUD gives to the state of Kentucky. And typically, our CDBG funds can only go to cities or counties because we're a small cities component of CDBG. But these funds it's a brand new pilot program that came out in 2020. And these funds are specifically to be used by for recovery housing, people leaving a recovery center and then moving on, having a stable place to live for up to 2 years if they want to. Now, Kentucky Housing may be involved later on in something, but at this moment, our funding is for the acquisition and rehabilitation of the empty commercial property.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 46. This contract said we're providing $305,000 to purchase equipment and lease it to a company, and it's going to cost us $15,000 in admin fees. Can you get us an idea on what kind of company are we buying this for, or what kind of lease fees are they paying? Because we don't have any of that information. It seems like a unique situation.
Now, this is pretty common in what we do in economic development in the CDBG program. The name of the company is Kentucky Lumber LLC, and they're going to create 28 new full-time equivalent jobs with the purchase of this loan. The loan is for at 2% for 7 years.
So it's a loan,
Correct.
not a lease. So we're not purchasing.
The city is receiving the funds, and they are going to purchase the equipment and lease it to the company.
So it'll
So the company's going to be paying it back.
Okay. Thank you. That may have been a language barrier or something on some of the wording. It made me think of something totally else. Number 62 is the final one I have here. Water treatment plant in Hazard. Can you speak to, I see the date here is August 31st. Is this recovery from flood area, or is this pre-existing issues that were already going on before we all got wiped out?
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am. This is a brand new treatment plant going in, and it will serve the existing city's customers within Buckhorn and Northern Perry County. It was an ongoing issue prior to flooding. Back in 2018, they went like 3 weeks without water due to ongoing issues. So with the building of this new plant, it will provide improved services to almost 1,300 users, and it'll also relieve some of stress on the Hazard plant that now serves these communities, because they're at capacity and about to exceed, and they cannot produce any more further water to accommodate the ongoing economic development that is happening within Perry County. This will also serve the two schools and the Coldfields Industrial Park, which they already have a business there that is wanting to add another line, which will meet the 25 new jobs on top of providing improved water services to the existing customers.
Okay, so to clarify, is the service area here going to be including any of the water lines that were lost in the flood, or this is support just outside of that hardest hitting?
This is outside, because this is no new lines. This is just a new water treatment plant.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
ma'am.
I do not have any other questions on any of these.
If you're okay with this, I'm going to run all these as one motion.
That would be fine.
Would you like to make that motion?
I can make the motion. We can approve all of these, obviously, for reasons stated. You know, some of these things pop up, and particularly as I'm thinking about, land acquisition versus maintenance funds, I think that's something we all care about is, do we have the money when we go into things? But obviously, if there's no further parameters and everybody agrees it sounds like a good idea, then, hopefully next year they also have enough money to pay for the maintenance on that. So, but I'm excited about this water. We've got to get more water support around the Eastern Kentucky area in particular. So, make a motion to approve.
So I heard there's a motion to approve without objection contracts from Department of Local Governments number 33, 34, 40, 46, and 62. Motion was by Senator Southworth. Is there a second? Second by Chairman Meredith. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Minter, Senator Meredith, Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Okay, do you know if we're we should be able to hear. All right, we're going to go back to our deferred list. If the representatives are, if we can hear the
Yes.
representatives now, the floor is
Can
yours.
you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yay.
Perfect. Good.
Sorry
Good.
for that. Thank you for
yeah.
staying with us.
Sure. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Mary Elizabeth Bailey. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Human Resources Administration for the Personnel Cabinet.
Welcome. Thank you. Are you by yourself this morning?
I am.
All right. Chairman Meredith has questions.
Yes.
Yeah, I think our discussion last month was on the order of the fact that we've got a system that's going over 50 years old, I believe, and we're locked into this one firm, it looks like for perpetuity, because they have to update it from time to time. And I think my question was, is the work still relevant? Is this whole process still what we need given this day and time? And are there other alternatives that we should be exploring so that we're not locked into this situation?
Right. And to answer that, the system is not 50 years old. We have been in contract with Korn Ferry to utilize their methodology, and we use their methodology to review our job classifications. And right now we are currently utilizing them to assist us in that review, to expedite the review and to finish it in hopefully a timely manner.
I was under the impression that this was first developed back in the 70s. Is that not true?
Yes, we started contracting with them in 1977.
Then where am I in error in my assumption that it's not decades old and possibly outdated?
Because the methodology is constantly updated by them.
Well, if the methodology changes, then shouldn't it open up possibly to other firms to give us a request for proposal? I mean, they're not the only ones in this world that can do this work.
Their methodology is their point factoring system, and it's updated by market and other factors that they take into account to ensure that that's updated. It doesn't change from point factoring. That is still their baseline.
Well, that's not a change in methodology. That's just a change in reviewing the job descriptions. Is that not correct?
Based upon current market, it's obviously going to be updated. It's not going to be based upon 1977.
No, but I'm saying you're saying it's a change in methodology. It's not. It's the same methodology from the 70s, but they're engaged every year to supposedly update it, or every 2 years, whatever it is. Is that correct?
Correct.
So again, I guess I am questioning methodology. If this goes back to 1970s, is this really the most appropriate means of determining the adequate pay scales for state employees? How do we know it's the best?
So. We believe so. They are a leader in the nation. There are 34 states utilize this point factoring methodology by Korn Ferry, and we believe that it is still a methodology that we would utilize.
Well, being a leader is a relative term, and it's just subject to everybody's interpretation. And again, my concern, Mr. Chair, is that we're tied to a system that we're never going to divorce ourselves from. We don't know we're getting value for the dollar. It continues to be updated continually, but I don't know that we're getting value for our money. So that's my objection to it.
Quick question. You mentioned Korn Ferry being in 34 states.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever approached, obviously we've had Korn Ferry in Kentucky for 50 whatever years, But have we ever approached other firms that do this and just asked them, you know, why do you all not bid on ours? Why can't we, you know, solicit more interest when we put these RFPs out to come in and look at our system, maybe redo it, maybe have somebody else that can offer other services or a better way to do things. I think that's all we're kind of looking for.
Sure. Understand. We have not.
Senator Southworth has a question.
Okay.
Thank you. The way I understand it, we are in the middle of kind of a 3-year process of getting these job classifications reviewed. So I understand the hesitancy to jump ship at this second while we're right in the middle of a 10-year process for 3 years. But what I'm hearing and thinking of, again, I can't remember, like 2 months ago or whenever this thing started, it seemed like to me it was like a not feasible to bid. This isn't even an RFP. That was kind of the initial thing that got us started on this whole thing. Aside from them being from our co-chair's favorite location. And so if this committee passes through with this year to finish this project, I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think I'm hearing a lot of support for this thing. It better be in an RFP situation instead of not feasible to bid for, I guess, 50 years. I'm not sure. Because it seems like we have no idea what the value is that we're getting. And when I'm on page 6 of this contract, breakdown of hourly rates, $900 an hour, $690 an hour, $520 an hour. I mean, these are scary numbers in state government world. And we need to have a better handle on what the competition is. Now, if California is half price, then we'd all go to sleep better, but we don't even know because we haven't had an RFP. So my question, I think last month it kind of came out was, and if I want to find out if we have an update, the scope of work, we've, added on, we had originally, the original contract is an amendment. We're adding, now we got 300 job classifications we're doing at these high rates. And the time frame on the contract is through the end of the fiscal year in 24. And when we talked last month, we said that the goal was to have it done by the end of the year. And I've reviewed it again this morning. I've seen no word in here at all that mentions that Korn Ferry is under the understanding that they need to get this done by the end of the year. Do you have anything to add to how Korn Ferry knows the project ends at the end of the year and it better be in ASAP?
Yes, we are in the process of doing an administrative modification to add project plan language so that Korn Ferry, we have, they are aware that we are following the project plan and the dates for deliverables.
So where in the contract can we point to that says Korn Ferry knows about this? Or
we're in the process of, that's what I'm saying, we're in the process of modifying that.
You're in the process. So
yes,
we need
to add that language.
We need to defer this another month so that we can find out what the final language stands at and for approval. When will we have that modification done by?
As soon as we have it, I'm happy to send that to the committee.
Like a week's time, or I don't know what the scope of time is on this.
I would have to ask my budget office.
But for sure before the next month's meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I would move to defer so we could make sure that modification's in.
There's a motion to defer this contract. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a second, but I'd like to ask a question first before.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Obviously, you folks are a fan of this firm. I'm just curious, how do you measure success? How do you know they're doing the job that they're supposed to be doing?
Because of the product that they deliver to us, and whenever we are needing consultative services. They are providing that to us in a timely manner. We also are, a member of the National State Personnel Executive Association and the Compensation Association of State Governments, and we're aware of what is going on in other states, and we feel that they are meeting the needs of Kentucky.
Let me ask it another way then. Why do you need these services?
Why do we need them?
Yes.
To ensure that we are paying our employees accurately and, based upon, we also need this based upon the merit system to ensure that our wages are where they need to be, even the knowledge, even if we don't have the budget to do so.
Then wouldn't that be reflected in recruitment and retention of state employees?
That can be one factor.
Well, shouldn't it be the total factor?
It
I mean,
could be.
if they're developing a product that allows us to develop a competitive pay scale, that means that we're able to recruit and we're able to retain employees. Why would there be any other measure? The fact that the merit system just kind of requires it is not justification for it. It's we need to be getting some kind of return on our dollar. So isn't it fair to say that recruitment and retention are probably the greatest measures of the success of this program?
I think it's definitely a significant factor, sure.
Well, I don't think that the work they've done is reflective of that, but again, that's a personal opinion. I'll make a second on deferring.
It is.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to defer. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
I vote yes. Explain my vote. Or actually, I guess just make a statement. But I'm hoping that maybe the House Oversight Committee, maybe it'll look into this. I mean, this is a 50-year contract. We don't know if we're getting a good deal. We don't know if we're going about this the best way. And this is something that I think deserves to be looked at after 50 years. Let's take a good look. Let's take a deep dive. Let's make sure we're getting exactly what we're paying for. And then one way or the other, we'll know and we'll be able to move forward. So I vote aye on the motion.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion to defer is approved. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing back with you on the updates.
Thank you.
All right, first item on the pulled list with the Attorney General. We are number 1 on the routine PSC green list. If the representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record. Into the green.
Blake Christopher with the Office of the Attorney General. I have with me the head of our Administrative Services, Stacey Woodrum, and Chris Lewis, head of our Office of Consumer Protection, to answer your questions.
All right, welcome. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I bet you know why you are here. Senator Meredith has questions about that very subject.
They do, and I pulled this contract not to chastise them, which usually happens when you bring a retroactive contract to us, but to commend them. Mr. Lewis reached out to me 2 or 3 weeks ago telling me this contract was coming. That's what I've always asked folks to do and give the justification for it. I think it is very much justified. Again, I think that's the way the process should be. There should be no surprises, and I commend you for reaching out to me. Another reason that I asked them to come today was I don't want folks to think I'm picking on any particular cabinet whenever we go off, or I go off on these tangents about retroactive approval contracts. But I think this one is kind of interesting. But again, my intent this morning to pull the contract is commend you folks for doing what I've asked you to do, but also give some insight as to this particular unique situation. I think it really is, and it does justify a retroactive approval. But I wish you could take some time to explain why we're having to do this. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Senator. This is a retroactive contract. It relates to one of our surgical mesh cases. Just for background for the committee, we've had multiple matters involving surgical mesh. This is a contract that originally went out in 2016. It's been renewed multiple times because of ongoing litigation. Unfortunately, there was a clerical error Final settlement check came in on one of the mesh cases. This one accidentally got closed. When we started doing reviews later on, we realized the mistake. And so we have done essentially, I guess, a retroactive renewal of a contract that's actually been in place since 2016, since there is still ongoing litigation regarding this matter.
All right, thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. Appreciate you all being here this morning. Appreciate your explanation and giving us the proper heads up.
Thank you, Chairman.
Next item on the polled list are with the Council on Post-Secondary Education. These are numbers 2 and 3 on the routine PSC green list. If the representatives are here, which they are, please come forward and identify yourself.
Excuse me, I don't, your mics are on.
Take your mics there.
Oh, I thought it was green. I'm Leslie Brown with the Council on Post-Secondary Education, the Division of Administrative Services.
And I'm Lily Massa McKinley with the Council on Post-Secondary Education, Executive Director of the Kentucky Student Success Collaborative.
Welcome. Thank you for being with us this morning. Co-Chairman Meredith will start off the questions.
Thank you for being here as well. And I go to the explanation that you folks gave us, and my point of concern is the statement says negotiations took longer than expected, and during that time it was decided that the PON2 should be for 2 years, covering years 2 and 3 of the project instead of 1, as we now know the budget and plan for the 3rd year of the project. I don't understand that statement. It bothers me a little bit. First is why did the negotiations take longer than anticipated?
I think that statement actually refers to the break-in service that we had on this contract, because we did not feel like we had enough information to continue this contract, because it's a continuation of a contract that ended in June. We went back to the vendor because we did not really like the budget we were given, and we asked to renegotiate a few points. But because the funding timeline is different than the state fiscal year, we had some issues getting everything to line up. And so we just pretty much asked for a new budget and renegotiated some of the timelines in relation to that budget.
Well, who made the decision that it should be for 2 years instead
Because
of 1?
2 years takes the grant to the end of the grant cycle, because this funding is only for 3 years. So we had a first contract for 1 year, and we decided that so much work would be done and some of the timeline would overlap, and since we're into a new biennium, that we would issue the grant for 2 years to coincide with the life of the grant.
So no one ever, I mean, from the onset, we knew this wouldn't be a 1-year contract.
We really did not know until we started talking to the vendor a little bit more, because one of the things that we did include in this grant is technical assistance to the institutions. And at the time, we were trying to reevaluate how much of that technical assistance we would provide directly and how much we did not have capacity to provide, of which we would reach out to this vendor to help us facilitate that process.
And the original RFP,
This was not feasible to bid.
and why is that?
So the reason this is not feasible to bid is because things did not happen in the order that the procurement department typically would like them to happen. So what happened was James Graham Brown Foundation, their board of trustees approved a grant, not a grant proposal, but a plan submitted by the SOVA Foundation to create a Kentucky Student Success Center. The CPE, we found out that this was happening, and we asked a year after this plan was created to become a member of those conversations, to be invited to that table so we could help shape that narrative. Because in the end, we are responsible for all of the public post-secondary institutions. And we wanted to make sure that we had a hand in implementing that amongst our campuses, and that an organization outside of us was not implementing that plan.
So this $487,000 that I see quoted here is covered by that grant?
It is covered entirely by that grant.
So the James Graham Brown Foundation
Yes,
funded the project through this company,
correct,
so that gives them the exclusivity.
correct.
Okay. Well, seems like a very convoluted situation. I think
It's
we kind
very.
of got the cart before the horse, but it is what it is, and I'll never turn away free money. So with that, Ms. Chair, I would make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to it, and this is for number 2 and number 3? Or do you have questions on number 3 as well? You want to separate them?
Let's separate them.
Let's separate. Okay, so this motion to approve number 2 on the PSC without objection, approve number 2 on the PSC green list. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Hart. Please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Aye.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 2 is approved. We'll now talk about number 3. Chairman Meredith.
If you could give us a moment, we have another representative to get to the table. We're switching people out.
Absolutely. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Kim Welch. I'm the Executive Director of the Gear Up Kentucky Project at the Council on Post-Secondary Education.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. Senator Meredith?
Reading from the explanation that we're given from this again, it says that CPE was looking at reissuing the bid for the RFPs. Excuse me, let me say that again. CPE was looking at reissuing the bids, but RFPs are a lengthy process with no guarantee of receiving responsive, reasonable bids. And rebidding the RFP would only increase the delay of these needed student services and so forth. And it also says that in the original RFP, that this company that we're awarding this to didn't submit a response to the RFP either. So why are they being given the contract if they didn't even respond to the RFP?
Correct. So this is a little bit of a unique situation. So in 2020, which is when the original contract began and when we tried to receive bids for these services, we only had one company respond. But because this money, and it's $132,000, but it's $132,000 that is used amongst up to 12 different school districts in the state. So it services a couple thousand of students. The company that did submit a proposal submitted it, but it was one of those bait and switch situations where it's like, yeah, we know you asked for this, but if you up your contract by this much, we can offer you all of these other nice things. And we just could not afford to do that. It did not fit our mold. And so we went back to the drawing board. We tried to reissue the RFP again without success. Then we started reaching out to other Gear Up programs around the nation who had similar projects to ask what they did, who they used, like the platform that they had built around this. And that's how we came up with this vendor. In the beginning, the contract was not this much. It was a very small contract, which was one of the reasons companies did not want to bid on it. However, in March of 2020, the way that education is delivered in the state changed, and the contract expanded to coincide with the new services that would needed to address the remote environment that students had, which brings us to today.
There's a couple of points here that concern me. One being, I think you said the scope of the services broadened from the original proposal. Is that correct?
Well, the scope necessarily did not broaden, but the number of students in which we targeted did, because in the beginning, everything was face-to-face learning. And so it was the type of services, it was advising, mentoring, those type of services could be provided, because we also have staff in these schools that provide some of these services as well. And they just did not have the capacity to keep up with various mentoring services. So this was kind of a hybrid model to try to also have staff there and to have this online service. Now, in March of 2020, when everybody left the schools and started going to the remote learning environment, the number of students, because this is an opt-in, it is not required, it's opt-in. And the number of students who are opting into this type of service for advising, tutoring purposes increased.
I certainly could see that, but I'm curious, what happens after August of next year?
So our first round with this vendor was a pilot. And so we found success with that pilot. So we've expanded it to additional grade levels. And so we're watching the measures of success to make sure it's making the impact that we want. And we will certainly look at renewing if we do see the results. But we are taking, a measured approach to make sure that that these dollars are making the impact that we intend.
Renewing with this vendor? I mean, it's
That would
going to be
be
a
my
same situation where it's a sole proprietor?
Possibly. It really depends what the measurements of success show. It depends what is needed at that time because the landscape of education keeps changing. We did not want to presume that we would need this contract in a year, which is why we only did it for 1 year, because we do want to continually reevaluate these services. It is a not to exceed amount, so the vendor only receives funds if students opt into the program. The grant ends
September 2025.
When? Excuse me?
September 2025.
And because this vendor was the vendor that we used originally to have a presence in up to 12 different school districts, K through 12 school districts in the state, to go back now and try to choose another vendor to try to go down the RFP process again, to try to get this software, because it is a proprietary software, we just did not know that we don't know that we have the budget to afford that, quite frankly.
Well, what concerns me with that statement that we know this vendor, we've worked with them, we hear that from a lot of different cabinets, and it gets to be a matter of convenience rather than anything else, and that's the driving point. And I've got no way to substantiate that $132,000 is a reasonable amount. Relatively speaking, it's not a lot of money with what we're looking at today. But again, the whole process kind of gets compromised if we don't take it seriously. And it just concerns me anytime we have somebody bring a contract that says that's going to be a sole source, because I know there's other sources. And, how can you give us justification that these dollars are truly spent the way they should be and that we're getting a return on our investment? I could say, $132,000. Maybe if we bid this, we could have got it for $100,000. Well, we don't know. We don't have a way of justifying that, and that's my concern.
I will say, when we bid it the first time, it came in a little bit under $300,000, which is one of the reasons we could not accept the bid. We have worked with this vendor, but we've only worked with this vendor for about a year and a half. So before that, we did not know this vendor existed.
But you're saying that in all probability, come 2025, we're seeing an increase in demand for these type of services. More students are going to need these services. So potentially it could be a $300,000, $500,000 contract.
Well, if that were to happen, we would rebid it. I mean, I do think we probably at this point need to work on a plan to rebid it.
That's what I want to hear you say.
But we just did not have the information, because this has also been an information gathering process for us. Because the landscape has changed so much, building a scope for an RFP was a little difficult, not knowing how education in a remote environment would work.
That's all the question I have, Mr. Chair.
I think we may have gotten through most of my questions from just before. It sounds like we're on the cusp of being into the range where we should be rebidding because we're into the market. But my question is on the Gear Up programs in other states. So you reached out to other states. Is this the only vendor that does Gear Up programs in any state? Or are there 3 or 4 vendors and they're all, in the 300+ range, and this is the only one that's small of all 50 plus however many territories? Or what was the field of opportunity?
When we reached out, we actually reached out to the Gear Up program at the national level to ask them if they knew of anyone. This is the only vendor that we found that operates within the Gear Up program in the nation. We're a little bit different because we are not giving them 100% of our services, because we do have staff in the schools to also provide some of these services. It was a capacity issue for us. And so being able to compare prices with those other states was not realistic for us because ours would come in so much lower.
Okay, so my final thought is, there any way that this money, what's the source on this? This is from the Gear Up grant, right?
It's federal funds.
We keep hearing all these things. They sound like they're all the same stuff. I mean, every school has ESSER funds. We're getting ready to do more contracts, or maybe we've already voted on them for, recovery of learning loss from COVID and like all these things. And I know Gear Up existed before COVID, but like you said, it's kind of gotten a new space now. And I'm just wondering, are we overlapping on some of this? Is it possible to put, I know federal grants, you can't overlap, but the services themselves, if you've got a staff in a school, are they getting recovery funds from the state and they're also getting Gear Up funds? So together we have millions of dollars and not 100,000?
I can only speak for the funds that flow through CPE. And as far as CPE is concerned, these funds are very targeted. So let me defer to Kim to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of our actual federal dollars going into the school districts, we do establish annual contracts with our districts, but we do most of the majority of the purchasing of goods and services at the central level to control costs. So those contracts are usually less than $20,000 a year. We are paying the salary of our staff centrally. And we also we work with our school districts each year to do a service implementation plan where we're considering other programs and services in the building so that we target our efforts and the time and effort of our staff in the appropriate places to avoid that duplication.
So to add to your question, it is possible the schools have money that would cover that. However, no one has stepped up to the plate to say, hey, let's take this over for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on number 3, or I will entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Chairman Meredith, second by, is that you, Representative Hart? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith.
I'll explain my vote, please. Appreciate your explanation. I know it's a kind of a difficult situation for you folks, but I hope you understand and appreciate my concerns. And if we're here this time next year, then I think we need to see something a little bit more substantive to the process. With that, I vote aye.
Thank you.
Chairman Cook.
My wife's a teacher. She deals with the Gear Up program. I know that it is having a lot of success right now. You said the magic words that as this increases, you are looking to run the RFP process. Therefore, I vote aye. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Motion carries, moves forward. Okay, next item. You all are welcome to stay if you want to.
No, we're good.
Or you-
Thank you.
Nobody ever
Always
stays.
a pleasure.
Next item and let me just say this as we continue for the members. We are on a timeline as far as maintaining our quorum. So if you have contracts down in here that you definitely want to talk about, you might want to watch the time as we move on this. The next item on the polled list was with the Department for Workforce Investment, is numbers 5 and 6 on the routine PSC green list, and numbers 77 and 80 on the routine MOA pink list. If the representatives are here, as we're moving forward, please identify yourself for the record. Make sure your microphone is on.
Good morning, Orrin McFarland, Deputy General Counsel, Education and Labor Cabinet.
Good morning, Dondra Meredith, Deputy General Counsel at the Education and Labor Cabinet.
All right, thank you for being with us this morning. I'll start it off on number 5, $1.2 billion or $1.2 million on nursing services there from a Florida company. Just trying to figure out everything. I just need an explanation on what's going on with that. Not so much that I object. I just needed more information.
Sure. That contract was awarded pursuant to an RFP. There were 5, I believe, bidders for that. All of those were foreign corporations. The decision was made that CellStaff, the company that was awarded the contract, had the highest evaluated score using the best interest of the Commonwealth set forth in the evaluation criteria. And I did review the evaluation criteria, and it does show that they did have the highest score based on technical proposal expertise, cost for registered nurses, as well as cost for LPNs.
That's everything I needed to hear. That's great, and I'll make a motion to approve without objection if there are no other questions. Many other members?
You want to handle both contracts together? Mine's.
Yes, sir.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to number.
All my motion.
Same
Thank you.
group. In going to the explanation, is this a separate contract because it's facility specific?
Yes, and it covers the time period before this contract went into place,
Okay.
from July 1st through August 15th.
All right. Then the other issue is, according to the explanation, lack of administrative staff is underlying reason for the delay in processing this contract. That's not a reason. That's an excuse. I'm sorry. That's just not acceptable.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve numbers 5 and 6?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Representative Bowling. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chairman Meredith. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Numbers 5 and 6 are approved. We'll now change gears, go to the pink list, numbers 77 and 80. Give everyone a minute to change, and Chairman Meredith, floor is yours.
Again, with these two contracts, my issue is the explanation that lack of administrative staff is underlying reason for delay in prosecuting the contract. Keeps us from doing our job. And I don't understand why this isn't a priority. And it's a concern I've had since I've been on this committee is we used to have just multiple requests for retroactive approval on contracts and for no really good reasons. And I reminded people that I think this should be one of the first considerations in this process, not the very last. And this is what it says to me is that, sorry, we've got other priorities other than the legislature's concern about these contracts. And I just don't think that's a reasonable explanation as to why this is a no bid justification.
Well, Senator, I appreciate your comments. We were here last month on this issue, and I did want to update the committee on what has happened since that time. The cabinet has instituted a telecommuting policy that requires 3 days in the office with the option of 2 days to telecommute upon receiving all levels of approval. One of the days, each agency has to have 1 day where every staff member is in the office together, which I think is important, as was discussed last month, to get folks together in the same area and to work through problems. The Division of Fiscal Management's procurement branch has been in the office since August 15th, 5 days a week in order to handle these issues and work through the backlog and to try and get this process moving and better. We listened last month and we actively are working to address these situations.
And I sincerely appreciate that. Personally, I think it was applied too broadly. Certainly this is an issue with your cabinet, but I'm not sure the same issue exists in other cabinets. And when you say the lack of administrative staff is the underlying reason, well, no, apparently you had the staff. It was the lack of productivity and accountability for those people.
Well, the lack of staff is part of it too. There are open positions that we've actively posted and gotten registers for, and the issue there is qualified candidates that can fulfill those roles. We are still actively trying to fill the 2 positions that are right at the heart of this work.
Well, you know, we had debate earlier about a firm that's supposed to develop a wage and compensation package for us that's competitive. You're saying that current scale doesn't meet the needs of your cabinet?
I'm saying I think that in state government, it is difficult to compete with the private sector, both in salary and now with this development of telecommuting that has occurred. And we have to try and find a way through, not only to retain our current talent, but also to recruit new talent to come. And I think that that's the process that we're going through right now.
Well, again, not specific to these contracts, but just an editorial comment about the change in policy. I certainly am glad to see it for your division, because obviously there wasn't accountability there. But I understand now this is just state government wide, that folks will have to be in office 3 days a week, 2 days a week. And quite truthfully, I think that's an overreaction to this situation, and I think it's going to cause a problem with the retention of personnel in other cabinets. I've heard from too many of them that live literally miles from here, that really they don't have a job that warrants being in an office 3 days a week, and going to cause great disruption to them personally, add additional expense without any increase in productivity. So I think we're a little misguided in the application, the broad application of this change in policy, but that is what it is. But I appreciate you listening to us and hearing me and trying to resolve these problems. But
Yes,
thank
sir.
you much.
Senator Southworth.
Yes, you mentioned that you had instituted a policy to go to 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Was that you and your cabinet that instituted it, or was it, because it seemed like to me it was for everybody, so that came down from somewhere else, or you guys implemented it and everyone else copied it, or what exactly is going on?
I do not honestly know the policy statewide. I just know for our cabinet. I have heard that other cabinets have instituted a 3-day policy as well, but I'm not aware of if it's cabinet across all cabinets.
Okay, so then the other question I had was, if all of the staff that's currently going to be in the office all on the same day together, all was, with exception of some of these open positions that are just now getting filled, they were all on the clock together other times from their various remote locations. Was it a lack of getting everybody together in an environment remotely? There just was bad implementation on the remote work? Because I'm just wondering how they're all going to get their work done now that they're in the office. We were paying them before while they were at home and they weren't getting their work done?
No, Senator, that wasn't what I intended.
Okay.
I think it's the idea that, and I've been teleworking myself since the pandemic, and there's just something about people being in the office together, whether it's being able to go over to someone's desk and just ask a simple question that would otherwise take 3 or 4 email exchanges. Things like that. It's those little things, I think, that are helped by having everyone together on that 1 day a week, where troubleshooting things like that, I think, are just easier when you can just walk over to someone and ask them, as opposed to scheduling a Teams meeting or things like that.
And in addition, I would also add that, as this committee is probably well aware, we went through a significant merger of 2 cabinets, and that did, there's going to be a little bit of growing pains. I'm not saying that is, it's just an explanation of a little bit what contributed also to this as well. Bringing those 2 cabinets together with 2 different procurement offices, it was just a matter of getting everybody on the same page a little bit too. So just a little bit of growing pains, but we really do feel confident that we have worked through those issues now.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say, I appreciate everything you've done, because you came in here, a problem was identified last month, you took action, it's very much appreciated. I'm sure you all will, as this goes forward, make the adjustments Chairman Meredith brought up, which are excellent points. I'm sure adjustments will be made and that looked at. But you came in here, problem was identified, you handled it, and for that I very much appreciate it. Any further questions on 77 and 80? If not, I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve by Senator Southworth. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chairman Meredith. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith.
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion to consider the contract reviewed without objection is approved. Thank you all for being here. You're welcome to stay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Nobody ever takes this up on that.
I'll take you up next time.
All right. We'll hold you to it. All right. Next item on the polled list with the Department of Juvenile Justice. This is number 14 and 15 on the routine PSC green list. I think you're online. If you'll please identify yourself for the record.
James Van Buren, Medical Director for Department of Juvenile Justice.
By yourself today, James?
No, sir. I believe Mr. Woolridge is with me.
Hi. Good afternoon, or good morning, rather. Jamal Woolridge. I'm a staff attorney with the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Thanks. I have questions on these. If you're listening with the last group there, I had similar question. If you could just explain to me, we have two $800,000 contracts. Not that I'm opposed to them. I just wanted to hear an explanation on what was going on with them, please.
Yes, sir. We had one agency for our last RFP bid. We used about 800,000 with them, and they only were able to fill about 50% of our positions. We got approval to use two different companies this time. Hopefully that will improve our fill rate. So that was the idea behind it. So just estimating, we used $800,000 with one company last time. We had split between 800,000 between the two this time. Still prioritizing DJJ nursing staff first, and then we use the agency for the positions that we can't fill with state workers.
On the second contract, was that an RFP process that completed on that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. Anyone else have any questions on 14 or 15? If not, I'll make a motion to approve without objection. Second by Co-Chairman Meredith. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith. Aye. Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion to approve without objection carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Next item on the pulled list is with Eastern Kentucky University. It is number 22 on the routine PSC green list. Please come forward, identify yourself for the record, make sure your green button is on your mic.
Good morning. My name is Amy Scarborough, and I'm EKU's Government Relations Officer. I have two people with me today, Mark Howard, who's our Associate Athletics Director for Operation, and Micah Hunsucker, who is our Director of Procurement.
Welcome. Thank you for being with us. Senator Southworth has questions.
Thank you. I feel like it was about a year ago when we had this conversation the last time. And I thought then you guys were at the tail end of all the COVID test contracts that were getting ready to come through. And we haven't had to have any of these for quite a while. And now here is another one. But you're the only people that have COVID testing that I'm aware of in a contract. It's been quite some time. And I'm just wondering what is going on, and are we really still doing that?
Sparingly, yes. For the most part, when it comes to sports medicine industry standards across the NCAA, it is at the institutional level on what level of testing is required. And when it comes to a competitive advantage, typically we're using antigen tests whenever an individual has any types of signs and symptoms of COVID. We utilize this PCR contract with Lexar when we may need to verify two negative tests to a positive for a competitive advantage for a student athlete to be able to compete. It also helps us to make sure that we're not having an outbreak within the specific roster of a team, and those things are still occurring. And so this contract is honestly just there if we need it. Quite honestly, right now, we've utilized two tests on this contract for this entire year. So it's $100. I do not think we will see many more uses of this contract. Now, that dollar figure is there if we need it. However, I really don't see us getting to that point at this time.
So you mentioned NCAA. So is this all relating to their rules on healthy athletes and when somebody's been sick and they can't play on a team because the other team, all that kind of regulations? Because you're the only school that's got this contract that we've seen. So that's why I'm like, how are you the only people? And everyone's an NCAA member, but
Sure.
Maybe they all have their own tests in their back pockets and you all just need a contract. I'm not sure.
Most individuals are utilizing antigen tests that are in their back pocket, yes. We utilize this just as a secondary level in case we need to utilize a PCR test for a competitive advantage purpose. When it comes to the CDC standards, yes, if an individual tests positive for COVID, we do still have those isolation protocols that are in effect within each institutional level, and that is the industry standard across sports medicine programs across the country. So if an individual tests positive, they're out for 5 days, might be out 2 games. could be a significant concern when it comes to Division I athletics competition.
And so the PCR tests help you potentially undo positive results with a negative, and then they would actually be able to play. Is that kind of how that works?
That is the rationale. Usually, oftentimes, that is a difficult hurdle to get over, but that is part of the rationale. It also helps us also to identify, yes, that antigen test was positive, and so is the PCR. That student athlete is not eligible for competition. It's also good for those reasons, to help us to know wholeheartedly that individual needs to sit out for at least 5 days.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if I've done this very many times, so I make a motion to approve this contract for COVID tests. Might shock everybody.
Second.
But you know what I think about these tests. And if we're using more tests to try to prove the other tests wrong, then, I mean, we might as well help these poor athletes that are subjected to all this craziness. Because the way I see it, we aren't checking for colds, but everyone's going to test positive at some point. And I've got a multitude of stories of people trying to test positive for reasons. Just saw somebody in court the other day trying to test positive so they don't have to go to jail. So, you know, let's get these people on the field if we can. So make a motion to approve.
Let the record show that Senator Southworth enthusiastically made a motion to approve this contract, and the entire committee seconded the motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
It's smart. I vote yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Mr. Chair, I vote aye, predominantly because I'm in awe that Senator Southworth made this motion. Thank you.
Chairman Cook.
Enthusiastically aye. Motion carries. All right. Thank you all for being here with us today. Okay, next item on the pulled list with Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Resources. It's number 35 on the routine PSC green list, and it's number 6 on the 10,000 under goldenrod list. If the representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record. They're moving forward now.
We also may have somebody remote as well.
Okay, I'll let you guys introduce yourself first, and then we'll go to the remote. Just make sure your green light's on there.
Lisa Cox, I'm the Director of Administrative Services.
And I'm Scott Porter. I'm counsel to the Stream and Wetland Mitigation Program. And I believe Rob Lewis may be somewhere in the ether.
I see his name
Yes,
pop up.
I'm online. My name is Rob Lewis. I'm an engineer with the Fees in lieu of Stream and Wetland Mitigation Program.
Perfect. Thank you for being with us. You all might want to pull your mics just a little bit closer and make sure they're on there. You got to be fairly close to them.
There you go.
All right. And I believe Senator Meredith has questions. We'll start with number 35 on the green list.
Thanks, sir. I think probably 6 will fold into this. I'm suspecting maybe they be related. If not, then we'll move on. But you have several contracts this time that there's a notation that the contract replaces another contract due to SB 217, designating Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Resources Commissioner as the Chief Purchasing Officer. I think there's close to half a dozen contracts here. What does that mean? Why did that happen?
When Senate Bill 217 was passed and it gave Fish and Wildlife the procurement authority, which basically created the commissioner as the equivalent of the Secretary of Finance Cabinet for purchasing. There were multiple contracts that were already in place that were being administered by the Finance Cabinet and DECA, and we were advised by the Finance Cabinet that because of Senate Bill 217, they could no longer implement or monitor or manage the contracts. So instead of the contracts being terminated, there was the provision in the contracts which allowed them to be assigned to the department to pick them up and continue the projects and carry the ball and run with it, so to speak, provided the vendor would consent to the assignment. It was basically just an administrative delegation changing from the Finance Cabinet DECA to the Department of Fish and Wildlife as the manager of the contract.
Did you all anticipate this?
No.
So it's created an administrative burden for you folks. Is that fair?
Lisa's staff, nothing, no balls that were being juggled have dropped. The department has done an outstanding job with its staff. The Division of Administrative Services, the engineers at Philo, it was unanticipated, but there hasn't been a hiccup. And we are meeting our regulatory obligations.
I would say that there is a little bit of a hiccup because KRS 45A is very specific for the architect and engineer contracts of the staff that has to pre-approve those agreements. And master agreements have a dollar limit on those per KRS 45A as well. And we have not crossed that bridge yet as far as trying to get a new architect or engineer contract in place, which requires not only finance cabinet, it also requires more engineers than we have on staff.
Is the other contract I request to be pulled from Caldwell and Feltner law offices, is this related to this issue?
No, sir. That is the result of a lawsuit that was filed resulting from an alleged false arrest and violation of 42 U.S.C. 1983. They sued 6 officers involved, in addition to the commissioner, deputy commissioner, and chief of law enforcement officers. It was filed in the Eastern District of Kentucky. Myself and the other attorneys on staff are not certified in the Eastern District because of the lawsuit that was filed. That requires someone who is certified in the district. The other complicating factor with that lawsuit is because you had employees and administration being sued. The internal staff, there was a potential conflict of interest situation, especially if somehow discipline might be required, and it was better to retain outside counsel. And Matt Feltner is experienced in 1983 lawsuits with the state police. He has successfully defended state police officers in those types of lawsuits, and it was, I think, a good choice to have him represent the officers.
I would agree, and I erred in thinking that possibly these were related, but I'll go back to my original line of questioning. You may mention about the master agreement. How, for want of a better term, is this divorce between you folks and finance cabinet? How far is it extending? They say you have to accept responsibility for these. You made mention of the master agreements.
So
do you not have access to any master agreements?
No, they have, and I say none. I think there might be a couple that are associated with the COT enterprise agreements, but they have actively taken steps to not only prohibit us from using those statewide master agreements, but they have also reached out to vendors and said that we should not be utilizing those agreements. I think that they were aware that we are copying those agreements, and through the authority of the commissioner has said that if it's a statewide agreement that we can use those, and we can do whatever we need to do in the system. So we are copying those agreements over and renumbering them under our department number.
And we think 45A 300 allows that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd agree with you, and this doesn't really follow any logic because you're still a state agency.
Correct.
And the purpose of master agreements is to allow any governmental entity to have access to those agreements. But I guess they're upset that you folks are willing to accept responsibility for your own procurement, which I think is reasonable given that your revenue stream is entirely outside the general funds. And it doesn't make sense to me, quite truthfully, Mr. Chair. I think it's kind of spiteful, and I think it's going to create some inefficiencies. Certainly for you folks, it's you shouldn't have to do, but we're going to be duplicating efforts to procure.
We're going to make it look easy.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to approve both contracts.
Thank you. We have we have to separate these. They're on 2 different lists. So we have a motion to approve without objection number 35 on the green list. We have a second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith.
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll now move on, and we'll accept a motion on number 6 from the 10,000 and under goldenrod list.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Senator Southworth. Is there a second by Chairman Meredith? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
I just want to say I appreciate the way you all are handling this situation. I know all the outdoor men and women out there that throughout the Commonwealth appreciate what you're doing, and so just enthusiastically vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to take, because there's only 5 of us here today, we can't afford to have anyone leave the room, so we're going to take a 2-minute break and be right back. 2-minute break. One, two, three. Okay, we're back, and after several accusations from the committee, that was my break, so needed it. Thanks for bearing with me. All right, next item on the polled list is with Kentucky State University. It is number 43 on the routine PSC green list. If the representatives are here, please come forward and identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. I'm Darrell Thompson with Kentucky State University, Office of the President, Government Affairs, External Relations.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for being with us. Chairman Meredith has questions.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I always appreciate you appearing for our committee, all our committees here in the state government. And got to share a quick work war story with you. I was a CEO of a small rural hospital in western Kentucky, and we were, shall I say, marginally profitable. But one day, my only orthopedic surgeon, who accounted for a good portion of our revenue, came to my office and said, "I'm leaving immediately." I asked our CEO immediately afterwards. I said, "What are we going to have to do to adjust for this?" And so we got to eliminate 20% of our workforce. Now, for a small community like ours, that's 100 jobs, and that would have been devastating to a lot of people. So we went to all of our employees, all 500 of them, met every one of them, said, "Here's where we are, and either we can lay off 100 people, or everybody can sacrifice and try to get through this thing together." You know, by the way, administration, all of our administrative team had already taken a 20% pay cut to get through this because it wouldn't be resolved shortly. And we asked people to sacrifice, and they did take on additional responsibilities. For example, a lot of departments were small. They struggled to do it. And after we made that decision and we allowed employees to make it, they said, "No, we would rather cut back our hours or our salary than see people lose their job." And I promised them this was a long-term situation that we would take other actions, but that's what we did as a team. But as we got into this, we realized that some of our departments are very small, you know, like 4 or 5 employees. And they came to me and said, "You know, this is really going to create a hardship on us, not in terms of personal, what we're going to sacrifice, but we don't think we can provide the services that we need for a hospital if we have to make this kind of reduction. And if we can find some other way to do it to save the expenses, would that be okay?" I said, "Most certainly. You know, if you can find a way to cut 20% of your expenses in the department, then by all means do so." And some of them were very innovative in the way they did it. But I was amazed. One of those life lessons I learned was things that before this crisis hit us, departments would ask for, that were absolutely imperative that they have in order to function in their departments. Now they came back and said, "Well, maybe we can do without this." But it did require shared sacrifice from everybody. I mean, our maintenance department, 4 guys. And during a winter snowstorm, we had a problem with humidity in OR, which means you can't do surgery. So they were tied up with that. Somebody had to shovel the sidewalks, and that was myself, our CFO, and our chief nursing officer. And the reason I share that with you is, you know, I know, you know, a year ago, you folks didn't have a pot to pee in, if you allow me the colloquialism. And we've made a sizable contribution to Kentucky State University. You're going to have to convince me that this contract in particular for lobbying is vital to the success of Kentucky State University. Because the way I look at our role, it's twofold. You folks are going to interact with us because you need something. And if you do, particularly after we've made this substantial contributions to Kentucky State University, I would think you would want to communicate with us one-on-one rather than through a third party and through a lobbyist. Or you're concerned about what we may do that will impact you folks. And I guarantee you, there's not a better awareness of Kentucky State University's situation, financial position, than in this legislative body, and you have our support. And I think you're going to be given a free pass, so to speak, over the next few years, that we're not going to do anything that will potentially cause harm to you. Now, it goes back to that shared sacrifice. I know everybody's busy. I know everybody's got responsibilities, but lobbying our legislature, following these committee meetings, and doing what else needs to be done, isn't that a responsibility that could be shared amongst administrative staff at Kentucky State University rather than to share or incur this kind of expense, which at this point in time, I think it's not a necessity. It's a little bit of a luxury.
Thank you, sir. You kind of described me in a nutshell in all those roles and positions that you talked about when you had to transition your company during tough times. People, if you notice, I didn't give you a title of my work at Kentucky State because I don't have a title in essence, because every day there's a different responsibility. And so I often tell people I used to be a gopher, and I got elevated to a go-to, just a slight little promotion there. And so in saying that,
cream rises to the top, so I just want to say it.
Well, I try to do what I can just to create an impact somewhere every day and try to do better the next day than I did the day before. And in saying that, having looking at the landscape for the past 9 months at Kentucky State. I spent about 50 of the 60 days down here with you all during the legislative session, and the days that I did miss, it would have been either because my family or my daughter required my attention. And so knowing that, the reason I was able to get here was through understanding the rules of engagement, and a lot of that came through professional learning and professional development that I got from McCarthy. But when you look at the return on the investment, the capacity that I get from this contract is not just lobbying. It is professional development. It's access to other opportunities. I was at a luncheon a week ago through the invitation of our service provider, where I met Congressman Barr. I also met members of Senator McConnell's office. That access has now given me an opportunity to meet with both of them next week during an HBCU week in D.C. So it's bigger and much bigger than that. And as you mentioned about capacity, I'm in multiple places. The past several months and weeks, we've been moving students into the university. I was here for 5 weekends in a row, helping transition our students from financial aid to housing to helping mitigate some of our residents' life issues. And so again, it's hard to be one person and be in multiple places at one time. And the capacity I get out of the McCarthy really is 10 to 12 people serving and supporting our university when we can't be everywhere. As you noticed, I probably was the only person you saw down here during the session for the most part, because we are thin. And so to pull other people from their roles, not being subject matter experts in this area, I've learned a great deal from just being around you, but more importantly, having the opportunity to sit and talk to you. And that comes through our relationship with McCarthy as well. And it's not just, again, lobbying. It's providing us the rules of engagement, the analytics, all the background that comes from understanding state government. And so it's a vital part of how we do business now. It is our hopes that we will grow as a new administration builds a new organizational health and structure for Kentucky State going forward. We've got a great new president who's building a team to transition and transform the university from just, right now we're in the stability stage, trying to make the university stable and getting to the point where we're not looking for a pass, that we're performing, and then getting from performance to sustainability so that we're changing the trajectory of the university and creating a revenue base where we're not having to rely on government subsidies. So I think it's essential that we continue to use this as a capacity for supporting the university, particularly during these next 2 to 3 years across this management improvement plan.
Well, in our situation, one of the rules I had to implement was we would not spend a single dollar unless it was directly related to the provision of patient care. You know, no travel. We curtailed overtime. We froze hiring positions. No magazine subscriptions. I mean, you can imagine just nothing. But we had to because there was no one who's going to subsidize us like we have provided to Kentucky State. So are you telling me that this is absolutely vital to the future success of Kentucky State University?
I would tell you that they are essential to our partnerships for creating the transformation needed to get us to the next state of sustainability. Yes, sir.
Well, I wish I could convince you otherwise, because one thing I will tell you is that you have great credibility amongst this group, as does all the administrative offices, current administrative offices of Kentucky State University. I think our doors are always open. I know, as you described, you've got responsibilities beyond the walls of our capital in this annex, and I appreciate that. But I'm going to tell you that this contract concerns me greatly, but I respect your opinion, and I will support the contract.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I just want to say I think that's some of the best testimony I've heard up here on a contract, and I'll make a motion to approve and move forward with this.
Thank you, sir.
Second? Second by Representative Bowling. All those in, clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth.
Split my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to vote aye and shock everybody again. I had a conversation with Mr. Thompson about this contract, so I got my questions kind of answered, I don't know, a week or two ago about this, but I think the last time it came around, I was the one that pulled it and blew a gasket about our lobbyists who donate to our campaigns, and we're paying taxpayer dollars too, and they're really getting the KSU's getting a good deal out of this. And anyway, I think obviously I like it better, and I think I've made it clear lobbyists aren't nearly as effective as yourself and others, but we understand sometimes you do need help and administrative help and different things like that. So we're hanging in there with KSU to get through this. But as soon as you guys get a halfway on your feet, just be here yourselves and talk to us. We'll help you through the process and get rid of the lobbyists. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries and approved without objection. Thank you for being with us today, sir.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it very much. Senator Southworth, if word gets out, we're going to have to lock the doors to keep more contracts from rolling in. Okay, we have to go a little bit out of order here, and we'll get right back on track, but we have time conflict. So we're going to go with, on the polled list with Economic Development Office of the Secretary, it is number 222 on the routine MOA pink list. That's 222 on the pink sheet. Representatives are here. They are. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name's Katie Smith. I'm the Deputy Secretary and Commissioner at the Cabinet.
Good morning. Angelica Sanchez Vega, General Counsel.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Senator Southworth has questions. I'll let her you need a minute to get your stuff together.
Thank you. So I want to get a good handle because we're talking about, it says $46 million to support site infrastructure improvements critical to water and sewer requirements for economic development. So the contract starts September 1st. I'm really trying to get a handle on this because we got $46 million. I mean, that's a pretty significant amount. I know we have KIA right now is working on immediate earth-shattering needs on water infrastructure all over the state for people's just daily sustenance. We've got, a whole large swath of area in this state that's lost their water access entirely. And now we're talking about a $46 million contract to get economic development going in hopefully some future point in time. I'm having a hard time with this money. Can this money be used for other things? It says it's general funds. So, I'm just thinking about how this got selected, and I just feel like it's a bad time. But if you can try to justify that, I'm willing to listen.
Well, this is one of 7 budget line items that were included in House Bill 1 for us to fund. And so we're following House Bill 1, the budget request, or what was included in the budget, and that is the $46 million to go to Intermodal Transportation Authority for infrastructure critical to water and sewer requirements. So we are truly following the budget, and that was authorized to our cabinet to administer. And like I said, this is one of 7 budget line item projects that we are administering.
And I understand that, and of course we have given you the money so you can spend it, but at the same time, this money is specifically only for new development that has no chance of anything, because we had a tornado, and in our budget and our tornado funds, we were going to use economic development funds to help rebuild. So are any of these funds going to be able to go towards site rebuilds in areas that have gotten swept out, or is this all new sites?
This is going towards expanding the water access included in that area around the Intermodal Transportation Park down in Bowling Green, Warren County. And so it won't just, I don't think it's just going to benefit that trans park. It's also going to benefit that region and the different housing and the developments that are around it, is what I'm aware of. And I know that it will assist with attracting economic development projects, but I think it will also assist with attracting other homeowners and developments there in the area to help grow that area.
Right. And if I may add, we are truly implementing this budget line item, which was approved and supported by leadership in both chambers. The legislation is quite specific about the funds, the total amount of funds, and the funds going through this entity, Intermodal Transportation Authority, for this very specific purpose. So there's not a lot of discretion that is being applied here by the cabinet. It is truly the implementation of this budget line item.
You mentioned there were 7 items, so this is one, and the other 6 are also location-specific, similar style projects?
That is correct. There was another one submitted this month, and we're working with the other 5 right now to get those agreements in place.
Do any of the other ones also or overlap in any of the disaster areas?
I know there's Northern Kentucky, there's the Covington has a wet lab. There's the Southeast Kentucky Industrial Development Authority is for, I think, access road utilities, something with a spec building. Do you have the rest? I'm
Yes,
trying
I
to-
do have the rest.
South Bank Partners in Northern Kentucky, Benton County Fiscal Court, Louisville Botanical Gardens and Louisville Waterfront Development Corporation.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve without objection by Representative Hart. Is there a second by Representative Bowling? Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith.
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries without objection. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. Polled list is next on the polled list is with the University of Kentucky. It is number 57 on the routine PSC green list. I pulled this contract just because we hadn't seen you in a couple months. We missed you dearly and wanted you to be able to come back. We know how much you love us.
We missed you too. Good morning. I'm Bart Harden. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the University of Kentucky. And I have with me
Barry Swanson. I'm the Chief Procurement Officer for the University of Kentucky.
Thank you all for being with us today. And we've talked about this contract before. Sure. And I believe it was Representative Hart and I. We had a lot of discussion with you on this, and I just don't understand why some of these things can't be handled by the University of Kentucky. And
that's a fair question. And as you said, you saw this contract back in November of last year. It was for $200,000. This committee approved it. It is for our 60th anniversary of Chandler. We were supposed to have had this event probably in April of this year. Due to COVID and some other situations, it's been pushed. We're doing it later this fall. I'm not sure what the exact date is, Barry. And we're really going to spend a little bit less than we thought we were a year ago. But to the point of your question, we do a lot of events management in-house, without question. We have a group that do things. This is going to be a large-scale event. We do not believe we could do this in-house. It's going to be a large event. I believe it's out at the horse park for a whole lot of folks. And around that event, hopefully this will turn into a philanthropic event as well as a celebration of 60 years of Chandler. And we just believed we needed outside help with this. We spent about a little bit less than $40,000, I think, of the original contract that you approved in November. Obviously, it can't roll into the next fiscal year, so we're coming back and asking for $120 moving forward. And that will be for an outside vendor. This was RFP'd. I believe we got...
We did an RFP in 2020, sent it out to 15 vendors and received 7, and awarded 7 contracts, to cover a variety of different subject matters, with different expertise. So this was competitively bid local supplier.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that's a very good RFP process put into play and everything. And it just, we're sent here to be good stewards of the Commonwealth's money, and I feel like we always need to ask the question, could it be done in-house? And I'm glad to hear that other things are handled in-house.
Yeah, we have a large, I won't say large, we have an events management staff that do a lot of events on campus, the smaller type events. They even put on graduation, which is a fairly large event. But this one, we just did not believe that we had the resources to dedicate in a short window solely to this event. And it's not one singular event, I will add, by the way. It's a series of some smaller events around this as well. So it's more than just one big event.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve without objection by Representative Hart. Second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth.
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Mentor? Senator Meredith?
Aye.
Chairman Cook?
Aye. Motion carries without objection. Thank
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the polled list is with Western Kentucky University. It's numbers 58, 59, and 60 on the routine PSC green list. The representatives are here. Please come forward. Are they online?
Yes, we
Okay.
are all online. This is Jennifer Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Government and External Relations for WKU. I have several people on the call with me today. So if you all want to start with Launchbox, I will introduce Dr. Daniel Boma, who is overseeing this contract, and he has several people with him as well that he can introduce.
Mr. Chair, since I requested a contract be pulled, I think I can abbreviate this. I appreciate those folks paying attention, but my objection is because it's a California-based company. We're in a unique situation today. We've only got 5 members here, which means we need 5 members for a contract to move forward. My objection is solely because it's California-based, and I would hope that folks would take my concern seriously. But I see no reason to not approve that contract beyond that issue. So in the interest of time and in respect for these people's time, I would make a motion to approve that contract.
Second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas? Senator Southworth?
Aye.
Senator Yates? Representative Bowling?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Mentor? Senator Meredith?
Just to note, I vote aye, but if we had more than 5 members here today, I would be a no.
Chairman Cook?
I vote aye as well. Just trying to grasp what's going on with Chairman Meredith and Senator Southworth today. We're on a roll. Okay, 59 and 60. I'll make it simple. If you just heard my discussion with the University of Kentucky, same question. I wanted to spread it out between all the universities. Could any of this be handled in-house?
Is Les Forsyth on here?
Yes, I am.
So Les is one of our assistant directors of athletics, and he can answer those questions. We do have a lot of graphic design services that we do in-house, but I'll let him talk about this a little bit more.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. To Jennifer's point, we do have groups that can do some design on campus. These are for Hall of Fame areas in our athletic department, and also some showpieces, so our accomplishments showing that our teams have accomplished in the last couple of years. And these are not just the graphic design. These are companies also that will do the design, the fabrication, and the install, which a lot of the fabrication and the install is beyond what we can do in-house in athletics.
Understand. Any other questions for Western Kentucky University? If not, I'll approve a motion. I'll make a motion to approve 59 and 60 without objection. That's okay. We have a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas? Senator Southworth?
Aye.
Senator Yates? Representative Bowling?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Mentor? Senator Meredith?
Aye.
Chairman Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time. You're welcome to stay online with us.
Thank you.
All right. Next item with the Board of Elections. These are numbers 2 through 7 on the routine MOA pink list, and numbers 1 through 14 on the MOA 50,000 and under gray list. 2 through 7 on the pink list and 1 through 14 on the gray list. Representatives are here, becoming good friends of ours. They're here every meeting, so welcome. Please identify yourself for the record.
Karen Sellers, Executive Director of State Board of Elections.
Morning, y'all. Taylor Brown, General Counsel.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Senator Southworth has questions.
Thank you. I see we have a lot of counties here. And last month we talked about the potential for counties to get reimbursements from previously purchased equipment, and I don't know where we're at on this. Are these actually all counties that are trying to add a few machines to their arsenal, or are these retroactive reimbursement, or is it a mix?
Probably a mix. These contracts are based on the $6.7 million that State Board of Elections has been using to reimburse counties for purchases. All of these, I believe, have been purchases they've made either in 2022 and used in May. Some of them purchased it in 21, being prepared for the May primary. And moving forward, that's, they're just trying to move forward. Some of these have purchased to be ready for use in November.
So none of these are in the new 25 million yet. We're not
No,
even
ma'am.
there yet.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Well, that explains a little bit, because I was taking note. All of these seem to be all of new systems, and it seemed like we're just. Is it because people are wanting to add a couple of voting locations, and so they want a machine there? Or are we seeing something different? Because what I'm looking at here on pink, I don't want to go through every detail on these. Obviously, the numbers just suggest to me that we're adding numbers of machines in some of these larger counties with smaller costs. They can't possibly be overhauling their entire system. So they must be just adding to the existing system or something like that. Would that be a fair assessment?
They're not adding to their existing election equipment that they used prior to obtaining this new equipment. Is that what you're asking? Are you asking, are they meshing equipment?
I'm suggesting, okay, Bullitt County, for example, pink number 4, $117,000. I mean, we all know Bullitt County is a pretty sizable county, and we kind of know how much these Verity systems cost. I'm just going to round it off to $5,000 a pop. So that means they can have a 23-piece outfit. Is 23 pieces actually servicing the whole of Bullitt County? I mean, that's not including any of the other extras.
Yes, that's 24 pieces that they purchased. The 117 is the 2,500 per precincts. They have 47 precincts, but their total spend was beyond $117,000.
Okay, you're
that's
right.
what they were eligible for, and that we reimbursed them for.
Okay, so they've spent a whole bunch more money than that,
Yes.
and we don't ever see those numbers. And that's what I usually ask for. We got 3 million counties here, so I will just. This is the day of no surprises for you all. I still don't like these new machines. If they were E-slates, let's get rid of the E-slates. But at the same time, we have put these people in bind. Just want to make it clear, the 25 million was put in this year for the purpose of eliminating the E-slates. I'm looking at the list. We almost have gotten there, and we haven't even started using the money. So my concern for our committee and our legislature is we're going to end up spending money to upgrade machines. I don't think we're going to have spending money, though, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. But anyway, the $6.7 million is there. Everybody's already spent it. Hopefully this is the last election this happens, and we'll move forward from there. Thank you.
Any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by 2 through 7 by Representative Bowen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Hart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
So my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to vote no, as I always do. I really think we need to really take a look, because there are a lot of other states that if you have a small county, small precinct, whatnot, we don't force them to buy these machines. When you open up these machines and there's 40 ballots, and we spent $5,000, and we got more machines than ballot. I mean, we seem to have a high overhead election system here. And I don't normally just sit here and say, we should pass my bill. But one of the things my bill was going to do was, last year, Senate Bill 62, allow those small areas to not have to have a machine for one vote. That's kind of stuff we need to be taking a look at because this would create a lot of extra costs for these places. They're all going into debt probably beyond all this money we're spending, and now we've allocated more money. It's getting to be a really big black hole, not to mention the security issues. So that's why I vote no.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
No.
Chairman Cook.
Yes. Motion moves forward. Okay, let's go on to gray list, which is 1 through 14 on the gray list. Senator Southworth.
Mr. Chairman, I kind of was including the discussion generally as a whole. I'll just mention there was one county, Jefferson County, that used the S&S machines. They have all the new system, if you want to call it new. Every other county has all gotten the Heart Verity system. So it's kind of all the same topic. Honestly, the Heart Verity system, they got pretty flimsy ballot boxes, and, you know, they're all the same size no matter whether you put one ballot in it or, you know, 1,000. But these precincts that don't really have that many ballots, I just think it's something we need to look at ourselves. We have put our counties in these situations where if they want to have voting center, or a voting location, they have to spend all this money to get a machine for what little they get out of it. So, you know, it is what it is.
I'll entertain a motion on 1 through 14 on the gray list.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve by Representative Bowling. Is there a second? Second by Representative Hart. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
No.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith,
No.
Chairman Cook.
No. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Motion approved.
Nope.
What?
You just need 3.
The motion moves forward. Contract. Yeah, contract. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Call me out. Make me nervous. All right, next item on the poll list with Department for Public Health. This is number 72 on the routine MOA pink list, number 17 on the MOA amendment and list. All right, moving forward, please identify yourself for the record and welcome back. Check your mics. Just make sure green light's on. You have to pull them a little closer.
I'm
there.
sorry, I'm Tricia Oaks, and I'm Deputy Commissioner for Operations, Department for Public Health.
All right. Sir, could you introduce yourself for the record again?
Yes, I'm Andrew Young. I'm the Director of Administration and Financial Management for Public Health.
All right, welcome. Thanks for being here this morning. Senator Southworth has questions.
Thank you. So I'm looking at 30 selections of households that are going to get, I'm supposing, some kind of broadband service or something. Obviously, we've got buku dollars flying around trying to get broadband off the ground for everybody. So I have 2 questions for you. One is, how did these 30 people get special dispensation to get a head start on this? And then 2, are we looking at their areas with the regular broadband money to get full service everywhere? Or how are they going to get this one-off service? Seems like one-off service is really expensive. If we could get the whole project done, it not only would be more equitable and correct, but also more cost efficient.
I'll start. Thank you for the question. This was a demonstration project that was initiated through SOAR for an RFA that our office put out. So this was to look at what telehealth would look like in our most rural, underserved counties and how we could connect them to a medical service or provide a medical home. So they applied for this funding, and these 30 homes were selected based on data that was captured through the local health departments and published in an article, peer-reviewed journal, to look at what we could do to provide connectivity for areas in eastern Kentucky that had very limited or no service at all. So we picked a population 65 and over was the original demographic we were shooting for, because we knew that was our most vulnerable population. The average age for our participants thus far for the pilot prior to this one, because this contract is for an additional county. The original county was Bell County. We had 30 homes selected, and it was very successful. 54% of those folks were connected to a provider, either directly have seen one over that past year or intend to see one within the next 30 days. So we felt like it was demonstrated successfully in Bell County, so we wanted to extend it to Martin County. And the little community is Meat House Creek, which has no internet or broadband service at all. So we thought we would go to that area within Martin County and provide the same service. This was a immediate need that we thought the satellites could address by linking them up that way.
So it's satellite service, and I would assume you're providing a tablet or a device for these people
We
to
provided
access the service.
if they didn't have it, we provided it. Absolutely.
And what about the broadband services that we're trying to roll out other places? Is that
can answer
coming
that one.
anywhere these places soon?
So this is unrelated to that, but it was part of a grant that we received to provide these services. However, with the new initiative for the broadband, we will not be expanding to any additional counties until we see how the broadband rolls out. But we do feel like we have some data that may be helpful to provide on some of the findings that from these original two pilots.
And we know for sure that Martin County is not getting broadband service.
Not
through at
this
least
not
June
this
30th.
particular area,
Okay.
Senator. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll entertain them if there are no further.
I'll just make a quick comment. Being from Bell County, I'm familiar with this the project. Talked with Colby Hall on it multiple times, and a lot of these places are areas that it's very expensive to lay broadband. Get it up the holler to might be 5 or 6 households up there, and it's just super expensive. And this is just another way for the state to look at it and to see if this works. Any reports back on the speed the folks had as far as their internet speed, how it's working?
I did communicate with an IT consultant at the Markey Cancer Center who's working with their telehealth initiatives, and we met all the specs, all the requirements to have broadband, just like you and I would have in our household, to be able to have great connectivity.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's an innovative way to look at it. Hopefully, instead of spending $4 million to do, hard fiber all the way up, every holler in Eastern Kentucky, and there's a lot of them, this might be another way to tackle it. So it's worth a look, and I'm in support of this contract. Thank you.
thank you.
Any further comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. And we need to separate these. We'll do 72 on the pink list first.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve number 72. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Southworth. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm voting yes, and one of the things, I don't know that Department for Public Health normally communicates with the, broadband KIA group or whatever, but one of the things that my constituents have constantly complained about is why are we building fiber when it's already kind of out of date anyway, and we really are all satellite already, and we're getting closer to that point. So if in this, we've put a bunch of money, I think federal maybe requirements or something, maybe why we're sticking with broadband, but we as a body need to look at spending our money on these satellite things if we're trying to get fully access to all these places. And I hope that you guys can maybe communicate this program to those offices and to us and actually report back, the studies and materials, because we need to actually be looking more at satellite anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Mentor. Senator Meredith.
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, let's go to number 17 on the MOA Amendment 10 list. Senator Southworth. Oh, we got a new player coming to the table, so let him identify himself for the record.
My name is Bob James. I'm Assistant Director in the Department for Public Health.
Welcome back. Senator Southworth has questions.
All right, here we are in our COVID testing in the jails. And I wanted to find out if there is any indication or reason why we're keeping up a boatload of COVID testing in the jails. I mean, we're increasing it by $90,000, so obviously we'll keep going with this pretty strongly.
So as the previous folks who have spoken about COVID testing, we're doing targeted testing based on community factors and facility factors. And so we're doing significantly less COVID testing than was ever done before. But we still have CDC guidelines that require us to maintain facilities based upon both community factors and facility factors. And as you know, people who work in the facilities are out in the community. So we're just targeting that testing at this particular point. This is basically a $90,000 addition to a contract that is already in place based upon the first quarter burn rate, if you would, of the funds.
Expected to go through the end of 2024?
Correct.
So assuming we don't use all these funds, we might not actually use this much money.
That's correct.
So if we quit COVID testing tomorrow, we wouldn't even need the 90.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I just want to kind of somehow figure out. I know we're always checking boxes for all of the purposes we check boxes for: CDC, audits, accreditation, whatnot. But, you know, when I'm talking to the inmates and they're in a situation they need to get out of the dorm that they're in, they go and find a way to get to test positive. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff where I feel like we're spending a lot of taxpayer dollars on mitigating fights in dorms through COVID tests. That's, I mean, you know, in prisons you're always dealing with those kind of things, but I just have a hard time with taxpayers being on the line for people using these type. I mean, you know, if it's available, they're going to use it. And we need to be thinking about that when we're making decisions on how we're testing and when we're testing and how much money we're spending to do that. So I just want to register my concerns there. And, you know, if that's not solved, then the $9,000 will get spent. I'm concerned about that. So that's the reason I don't particularly like approving excess, especially since this is through 2024. And Mr. Chairman, I would think, you know, come 2024 in May, if they needed more money, why, you know, we could do that. But it seems like a little early for an amendment. So I guess I'm just not really a fan. And I will quit talking, but I'm not going to move to do anything on this. If anybody wants to make a motion, that's fine. Otherwise, I'd rather just kick it to the curb.
Any further comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion on number 17 on the TAN list. No motion. No motion, it moves forward. Okay. Thank you all very much. Appreciate you being here. All right, let's move on to, finished here. We did that one. Next item on the pulled list is with Kentucky Housing Corporation. It is number 235 on the routine MOA pink list. If the representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Jeremy Ratliff, I'm General Counsel at Kentucky Housing Corporation, and along with me is Jamie Rice, who's the Managing Director of our single family programs.
Welcome. Thank you for being with us this morning. Senator Meredith has questions.
I'm not sure it's a question just as much as a comment. Looking at the explanation we're given for this retroactive approval, third paragraph says the renewal was neglected. You know, that's not a reason. That's just fact that it didn't happen. And again, we're not given the privilege of renewing these contracts when they should be reviewed. It says to me again that we got some agencies that don't feel that we're an important part of this process and they're going to be able to conduct their work anyway. So let's just move on. And I think it's disrespectful to this committee ever to have to receive a retroactive request for a contract. And again, there's no real explanation in this. This is in the party's efforts to develop and implement this brand new program in the prior months, the renewal was neglected. Well, again, that's not a reason. That's just an excuse. So that's my concern, Mr. Chair.
Senator, if I may, I offer we have no excuse in this situation. Hopefully you have seen that we have implemented processes where we are being better about communicating these issues when they arise to the committee. I think that's reflected in that we have had 2 or 3 contracts in the last year that have been retroactive, and we've provided the notification and the explanation for that. And those have resulted in not even being pulled for the committee hearing because we satisfied the committee, I believe, with our process and our notification and communication. All I can do in this instance is offer 2 apologies to this committee. The first being that this particular agreement slipped through our cracks in our procurement process in the spring. It should have been renewed during that process, and it slipped through our cracks. The only thing I can offer in that regard is we are in the process of trying to procure a system that would be better for us in managing our contract and procurement process. But this particular agreement did slip through our cracks, and there is no excuse. It's just the only thing I can say is, my faith tells me there's only been one perfect human who walked the face of the earth, and he was also fully God. So, we make mistakes, and we made a mistake here, and that particular agreement didn't get caught as needing to be renewed. The second apology I owe is that our explanation and our communication to the committee was not in a timely manner, and that is again an error on our part, and we have no excuse for that either. And all I can do is apologize for that, and again offer the same thing, that we are imperfect humans who make mistakes. So that is all I can offer the committee. I do think that we have our processes in place to at least minimize this occurring. It's not appropriate. I fully acknowledge that, and the committee certainly should be seeing these things in advance rather than in a retroactive manner. I'm not a fan of retroactive contracts myself, and I can only promise that we will work to be better moving forward.
Well, my faith tells me that sins are to be forgiven, so go forth and sin no more.
Thank you, Senator.
Was that a motion to approve? Yes. Is there a second? Second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling.
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Minter, Chairman Meredith.
Aye.
Chairman Cook.
Aye. Okay, motion is approved without objection. We will now go to the final item on the polled list with Department for Community-Based Services. It is number on the MOA Amendment 10 list. If the representatives are here, last but not least, thank you. Come forward to the table and identify yourself for the record. Check your mic.
There we go.
There you are.
Toby Smith, I'm Contract Performance Section Branch Manager in DCBS. I'm David Gutierrez with the Clinical Services Branch, Division of Protection and Permanency, Department for Community-Based Services.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Senator Southworth has questions.
Thank you. I'm looking at a contract that's over doubling in size, and it says providing additional funds due to the significant growth Kentucky has seen since 2007. Now, obviously, this contract is for 2022 to 4, and we're 3 months into this thing, and we're talking about growth since 2007, so I'm really struggling with how it doubled over 3 months.
This is implementation of the executive branch budget bill. There was money allocated specifically for these programs. The since 2007 is just a measure of what's been going on with these programs across the state over the past, I guess that's what?
We're all getting older.
Yeah, several years. How about
years.
Several years? How about that?
Okay, so in July 1, 2022's contract, you did not foresee or did not have in your hands the money from the budget bill which added to this. Is that why we're getting an amendment to double the size? I'm still not sure why we're doubling size.
Actually, if I can take this, actually, our procurement timelines, we have to have to ensure that a contract is in place on July 1st. We have a January 31st deadline, so we basically kind of have to, base it off last year's budget, and this year it was done before that. So whenever we get new money added in, we do a modification in July, start a modification if there's any new money added in, and this was added in the budget.
Thank you. That makes way more sense and explains what I was wondering. The only thing I was going to register, and I registered it on the floor when I voted on this, this is kind of a similar situation when the lobbyists are getting the taxpayer dollars, and I feel like it gets awkward in how we sort out this money and everything, but hopefully we can make sure that we can assure, because that happens all the time, I know, and everybody says it happens all the time. Well, we need to all just keep our eyes on it. So thank you very much for the explanation.
Do we have a motion? I'm sorry, I was on a sidebar.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Okay. Motion by Representative Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Bowling. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Douglas, Senator Southworth,
Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm really stuck on this because I think the child advocacy centers could do some amazing work. I'm a little underwhelmed by some of the reports I get on the work they are doing, so I really am torn on the support for this, but I will vote for it right now since it's in the budget, and we just all need to keep our eyes on this thing in the future. Vote aye.
Senator Yates, Representative Bowling,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Mentor, Senator Meredith, Chairman Cook.
Aye. Motion is considered reviewed without objection. Congratulations. Gold star for the people who stayed in the room through the last contract, even though they didn't need to. So, and before adjournment, we got October 22nd meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October the 11th, 9 a.m. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? Aye. We're adjourned.
Good job, Mr. Chair.
That's not bad. 2 hours and 50.